After one of the largest victories in ACU history, it's back on the road for the Wildcats, who head south for a top 10 matchup with the Abilenes.
Yeah, we're high on the Hogs this week. ACU and Texas A&M Kingsville, a matchup of two of the top 6 teams in the nation. We'll preview that game and have a look back at last week's big victory over Tarleton State next on The Chris Thomsen Show. Welcome to Week 5 of the Chris Thomsen Show here on K-Texas. Grant Boone along with senior broadcast major at ACU, Brandon Tripp, and the head coach of the ACU Wildcats, Chris Thomsen. The biggest game of the 2010 season to date is tonight down in South Texas. ACU and Texas A&M Kingsville, a matchup of a couple of teams ranked in the top 6 in the nation. Coach, you think about the tradition these two programs, and tonight promises to be another great chapter in that storied rivalry.
Yeah, we always look forward to going to Kingsville, going to South Texas, and always beautiful weather down there, and just the great tradition that they have in that program of the guys like Darryl Green and Gene Upshaw and Johnny Bailey. Watching the film the other day, they got the number 20 logo with Johnny Bailey on the field. Just a great tradition, and ACU's got that same great tradition, just a great rivalry. We can't wait to get down there.
Coach, looking back to the Tarleton State game this last weekend, a lot of things went right for you guys. What surprised you the most about that win?
Really, biggest surprise was probably just, you know, the kicking game. We'd had some struggles a little bit just in field goal and extra point. You know, Morgan Lineberry was 8 for 8 on extra point, 3 for 3 on field goal, and I think he's kind of hitting his groove and finding his way a little bit. But biggest surprise is just really just the way the game turned out. I mean, you know, Tarleton ACU is one of those great rivalries, hard-fought games, and just real surprised at the final score, really.
Yeah, 65-3 the final. You scored in every phase, offense, defense, and special teams. And one of the biggest margins of victory that ACU has ever had. In fact, third largest margin of victory, 62 points. When we come back, we'll have highlights of that big 65-3 win over Tarleton State and get Coach T's analysis. This is the Chris Thomsen Show. Welcome back to the Chris Thomsen Show. Last week, ACU, that big 65-3 victory over Tarleton State. Brandon Tripp with a look at the highlights.
The Wildcats began LSC South play last Saturday against the Tarleton State Texans. The score already tied 3-3, and it's Aston Whiteside who picks off Aaron Doyle's pass, pressured by Bryson Lewis, and he takes it 58 yards for the ACU score, and that will be the momentum changer in the game. Wildcats go up 10-3. After ACU got the ball back, it was Mitchell Gale leading the Wildcats down the field, hitting Edmund Gates on the 52-yard bomb all the way down to the Tarleton 27, and just a few plays later, Daryl Cantu-Harkless, getting his second consecutive start, punches it in from the 2-yard line. Wildcats up 17-3. Next ACU possession, it's Mitchell Gale to Ben Gibbs, the tight end. Gibbs runs through, around, and by Tarleton defenders for the 36-yard touchdowns, and the Wildcats were well on their way to a victory. Morgan Lineberry added the field goal here, putting ACU up 27-3. Lineberry was perfect on the night, hitting 8 of 8 extra points and 3 of 3 on field goals. Into the third quarter we go. Wildcats already up 37-3, and Raymond Radway, not letting up, makes the tough yards after the catch, and ACU was on the move again. Later in the drive, Mitchell Gale to Edmund Gates, who somehow manages to stay inbounds. Excellent body control by the senior. Gates finished the night with 5 catches for 91 yards. So ACU down at the Tarleton 4-yard line, and Mitchell Gale sets in the pocket and delivers a strike to Ben Gibbs in the back of the end zone for both Gale and Gibbs' second touchdown of the night. Gale finished the night with 344 yards passing, a career high, and 2 touchdowns. After another ACU interception, the Wildcats were set up at the Texans' 14-yard line, and on the first play of the drive, its freshman Charkandrick West bounces to the outside and is just way too fast for any of the defenders, puts ACU up 51-3. Deep into the fourth quarter we go. Josh Morgan, getting some playing time, makes a nifty cut into the Texans' defense and down to the Tarleton 6. The very next play is all it would take. Around the outside, Morgan goes and gets to the pylon. Morgan finished the game with 44 yards and a touchdown. The Wildcats finished with 169 rushing yards in total on the night. The third time this season, ACU has eclipsed the 150-yard barrier. ACU already up 58-3 at this point, but why not one more time for the Wildcats? Taylor Gabriel cuts across the field and down the sideline he goes. He returns it 80 yards for the ACU score. The Wildcats dominate Tarleton by the final of 65-3.
All right, we're going to let Brandon catch his breath after recapping that 65-3 victory, ACU over Tarleton State, the largest margin of victory since the Warren Harding administration. You have to go back to 1922 to find a time ACU won by more than 62 points. Coach, we said it earlier, you score in every phase, offense, defense, special teams. And it really began on the opening kickoff. L.B. Suggs, one of two forced fumbles. They did recover one later in the game, but 2 times he forced fumbles on kickoff returns, and you get that first one.
Yeah, LB's a kid that, last year really broke in on kickoff coverage and playing a lot of safety for us this year, so we use him a little bit more on defense, but we still have to keep him in special teams because he's such a great special teams player. And he's an impact guy because he knows what he's doing. He fits right on everything, and he gets himself in position to make plays, just doing a great job.
Yeah, in fact, you've said this before. You call your special teams guys starters.
Yeah,
right?
and LB right now isn't starting at safety, but to me he's a starter. He's one of those guys like Derek Odelusi and Chris Jones is starting to emerge like that, the guys that don't start on a defense or offensive unit but play such a huge role. And I think those guys, they take so much pride in it, and that's why we're doing a good job in those areas and making some plays.
You're top 10 in the nation in punt returns and kickoff returns, Coach, and your average starting field position through 4 games is better than your own 40-yard line. And so for all the greatness we talk about in terms of your offense, they've had some help, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. And we look at turnovers, we look at explosive plays, we look at foolish penalties, but that fourth area that we always look at is average starting field position. And turnovers and explosive plays factor into that, but special teams is obviously a huge area with your return and your coverage units. And our guys, we've been doing that about 4 years now, and they've really started to look, on Sunday when we look at a game and we evaluate it, how do we do on average starting field position? They want to win that bad, and they take a lot of pride. And this year's been our biggest margin each week.
And speaking of turnovers, you win that battle 4-0 last Saturday night, and you're now number 1 in the nation in turnover margin, better than 2.5 per game in terms of turnover margin. So, Coach, let's talk about that game, because 65-3 you think blowout, but really in the first quarter it was kind of anybody's game. And after you took that 3-0 lead, they held you after you recovered the opening kickoff fumble. They marched down. They've got 1st and goal at the 5-yard line. This kind of gets lost, I think, in a 65-3 game, but your defense held them to a field goal opportunity.
Yeah, they did. They came out and did some things offensively that they hadn't showed that took us off guard a little bit. And but the defense getting a stand, not giving up a touchdown after basically they marched all the way down the field was a huge deal, because at that point it's tied. We get some momentum because of the stop, and then gave our defensive coaches some time to adjust. And Coach Johns, his staff did a great job defensively, just adjusting to the new things, and we finally got that slowed down a little bit.
And then 2 minutes left to go in the first quarter, 3-3 game. We see Aston Whiteside make just as fine a defensive play in about 3 different areas in terms of the deflection, the catch, and then the run on that huge 58-yard interception return. I know you see him every day in practice, but it seems like every game he does something to wow you.
Yeah, he does, and what sets him apart is his great ball skills. I mean, most defenders are playing defense because they don't have the ball skills to play offense, but he's equally gifted in that area. He could be a great tight end, great fullback type guy if we put him over there. And he showed that on that play, and credit Bryson Lewis for getting the pressure, on the quarterback on that play. But he's done that before, and hopefully will continue to give us those kind of plays.
I know that's why I got moved to defense, the lack of ball skills. Let's talk a little bit, Coach. Have to mention Mitchell Gale. Against East Central, throwing a career-high 5 touchdowns, he goes for a career-high in yardage with 344.
Yeah, Mitchell's just done a great job, and being aggressive but taking care of the ball, and that's what you want from a quarterback. That's what you see from the great quarterbacks. They can be aggressive, they can throw in those tight spots, but but still take care of it. And number one in turnover ratio, that's a big reason why, because he's taking care of the ball, doing a great job.
Finally, have to mention the Lone Star Conference South Division Special Teams Player of the Week, Morgan Lineberry. 17 points he accounted for in that game against Tarleton State. That tied an ACU record. We talk about Gale taking over as quarterback last year against East Central, but that East Central game in 09 was when Morgan Lineberry became your starting kicker.
Yeah, he's really matured and really developed a lot like Mitchell has, and they're both young guys still, and that's encouraging. Morgan's a sophomore. He's done a great job. He gained confidence last year going throughout the season, hit those big field goals at Midwestern, and just continues to get better each week. And I don't hesitate at all. If it's 4th and 2, 4th and 1, a lot of times my mindset is just let's kick it because we're going to get points. I feel very confident in his ability.
65-3 the victory, ACU over Tarleton State. We'll talk about the big game tonight against Texas A&M Kingsville in just a moment. You're watching The Chris Thomsen Show.
Welcome back to The Chris Thomsen Show. It's one of the most important units to a football team. Plays made in special teams can make or break a game. Kevin Washington takes us inside ACU special teams this week in Washington's Post.
About to introduce you guys to actually I'll let him introduce himself. Hey, what's up, Mark? Tell us a little about yourself.
How you doing? I'm Mark Sprague. I'm the punter for the ACU Wildcats, and today we're going to show you how crucial and important special teams can be in a football game.
That's right. Mark's going to show us how to punt a ball, because it's not, just putting the ball out there and kicking it. So, Mark, what's the first thing you got for how we should punt a ball?
Well, first of all, you want to be nicely stretched. You don't want to come in here too tight because you can pull a hamstring or something.
Of course, got to be loose, got to be loose.
Got to have a good deep snapper, which we do. And part of punting is receiving the ball and setting it right over the kicking foot.
All right, right over the kicking foot, got it.
It's a two-step process because you only get 2 seconds to get it off between the snap and the kick.
2 seconds, you got to get it out.
Yeah, we got to get it out.
So how many steps is that before you got to kick it?
We only get 2 steps, that's it.
Dang, all right, 2 steps.
So 2 steps, and this year, our goal is no blocks, no block kicks, and so far we're doing a pretty good job. You see the kick, you see the ball, take your step right over the foot, just like so.
Mm-hmm.
On your next step, you release your hand and just gently drop it and follow through. And on impact, you will have a beautiful spiral way up in the air, which I like to call the sweet spot.
The sweet spot. All right, so you kick a spiral. Can you walk through the motion without kicking the ball? Could you just walk through it and show us how it's supposed to be, like pretend catch and all that?
All right. So you get the snap, set the ball, take your step.
Nice. And my leg definitely can't even get that close to my head. But Mark, if you grab the camera for a second and put it on me, and I'm going to see if I can try and get a punt off real quick.
Yeah, we can do that.
Here we go.
Yeah, that's it right there.
All right, anyway, matter of fact, all right, we're done. I'm still a linebacker.
All right.
Matter of fact, that was Mark Sprague, our punter out here. He showed us a little bit about special teams. Our special teams have been kicking butt this whole year, and we're hoping they're going to keep going like the way they've scored, I think, 3 touchdowns, 1 on kick off, no, 2 on punt actually, and then we've actually scored on 2 punt blocks, which we haven't had any of, like Mark said. So special teams, like Mark said, why did you say special teams are so important?
Because it will be the deciding factor if you have 2 balanced teams on the field.
That's right, so 2 balanced teams. We have 3 teams. We have the offense, the defense, and the special teams. And so if 2 of those cancel out, the special teams have to come through, and ours have been doing a great job of that this season. We hope they're going to keep that up. We know Mark will make sure they do a great job of that. So thanks for tuning in. This is the Washington Post, and we'll catch you later.
Thanks, Kevin. And now let's go on up to the JMC Network newsroom for a look at what's going on around the rest of the ACU sports landscape.
Welcome to the JMC Network Sportscast. I'm Austin Gwynn. Kristen Goodspeed is out today. The ACU volleyball team continued its hot streak with wins number 9 and 10 last week. On Thursday, the Cats took down a tough Texas women's squad en route to a 3-1 victory. Although the offense wasn't on top of their game, the defense stepped up with 7 blocks from Shauna Hines and 6 more from Neely Borger. Saturday was more of the same from the Cats as they beat Texas A&M Commerce 3-0. Jordan Schilling provided offense and defense with 10 kills and 13 digs. The Wildcats will go to Topeka, Kansas to play their biggest tournament of the season this weekend at the Washburn Regional Crossover. The women's tennis team dominated this past weekend at the ITA Tennis Regional in Abilene. Julia Mongeau, who defeated 6 straight Division I players last weekend, captured the regional singles title, beating out teammate and number 1 seed Jacqueline Walker. Walker and Mongeau also took the title in doubles as the top seed in the tournament. Both Walker and Moja advanced to the ITA Small College National Championships October 14th through 17th in Mobile, Alabama. Despite another goal from freshman phenom Andrea Carpenter, the Wildcats blew a 1-0 lead and lost their first conference game of the season 2-1 to Midwestern. The one highlight of the game for the Wildcats was Carpenter's goal. Carpenter has now scored in the first 7 games of her collegiate career and has 8 total goals this season. Those goals put her in 5th on ACU's career goals list. She trails Lindsay Womack and Courtney Wilson by 4 goals for first place, a feat she will no doubt accomplish. The Cats will head back out on the pitch Friday against East Central in Oklahoma. From all of us here at the JMC Network, I'm Austin Gwynn. May the sports be with you.
ACU football players aren't the only ones preparing for what may come after college. Students like Colby Freitag and Will Foster are learning what it takes to become a coach in this week's On the Grid.
I got in because I love football. I played football here for 2 years. I want to coach and teach in high school when I get out of here. And I had a bunch of injuries, and Coach Thomsen presented it to me to become a student coach because he thought it'd be a good job for me. It'd be a good way to kind of get some experience in the coaching field. And so I enjoy it. It's fun right now, and so I hope it'll look good one day when I'm trying to get my first job. And during practice, I help Coach Young, the O-line coach, with helping the freshmen. I get the scout team defense set up for inside drills and stuff like that. And then on Saturdays, I pretty much fix equipment and do whatever the equipment guy needs me to do.
I played football for ACU for 2 years. I played wide receiver, and then after I realized I wanted to get more into the coaching aspect, I decided to quit. And then I got a phone call from Coach Collins at the beginning of last season, at the beginning of school, and called me up and asked me if I wanted to still be a part of the team. When it comes to the team aspect, when it's the whole team versus the scout team, I'll be calling the plays. So I'll be on the sidelines. I'll have Coach Foster, for example. He'll be reading me the plays, and so as he reads them to me, I'll be hand signaling the plays to the offense. I plan on coaching as a profession, preferably high school to college. But now that I'm already started here, it wouldn't hurt to stay here if possible. It's been a great learning experience so far, and I'm continuing to learn more every single day about the reality of coaching, what it takes to be a coach, what all of like the little things that go on. And so it would be absolutely great to be a college coach.
All right, well, when we come back on the Chris Thomsen Show, we'll have a look at some of the other scores from around the LSC and look at a top 10 matchup against Texas A&M Kingsville.
Back on the Chris Thomsen Show, take a look at some of the scores from around the Lone Star Conference last week. As for most teams, division play began. Of course, ACU with that 65-3 victory over Tarleton State. Coach, a big win for West Texas A&M in the Concho Valley, 37-27 over Angelo. That was impressive for the Buffaloes, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a real big road win for them. What was surprising is Angelo shut them out in the second half. You know, West Texas got a great offense, and but to go on the road, get that win, and they dealt with some adversity last week, so that was a big win for them. Yeah,
first loss of the year for Angelo State. ACU has WT and Angelo later this year, but tonight it's Texas A&M Kingsville winners over Incarnate Word last Saturday. You look at the numbers, Coach, and I know that we in the media like to massage the numbers to maybe sensationalize the game. I don't think you have to do anything with these numbers except look at them and really marvel at the amazing defense that Bo Atterbury has put together down there at Texas A&M Kingsville. Number one in all of Division II in rush defense, total defense, and scoring defense. They drop all the way to third in the nation in pass defense. They average just 5 points a game allowed. They've allowed only 2 touchdowns all year defensively. They did have 1 interception return for a touchdown. So, as you look at your team and you look at the film, how do you go about trying to attack a defense like that?
Well, you reading all those numbers makes me not even want to show up. But you know, I think you have to be balanced. I think the reason that they've been able to just really dominate people is most of the teams they played have been somewhat one-dimensional. You know, and what's really impressive is what they did to Northwest, knowing what kind of offense Northwest Missouri has. And so, you know, you look at that game, and they really did a nice job on Northwest Missouri. And the other team's a little bit more one-dimensional. I think you got to be able to do both. You got to run it some, but you got to be able to throw the football. They're going to stack the line with that 8-man front defense, and you can't just sit there and try to run it all night. You have to be balanced. And if we can operate and be balanced and protect the ball, whether we're throwing it or running the football, I think we should have a chance to to move it somewhat. You're not going to run up and down the field on a defense like that, but you got to be efficient. You got to make some plays and score some points.
Well, we know that Mitchell Gale can throw the ball. He's top 10 in the nation in passing efficiency, 11 touchdowns, no interceptions so far this year. But your running game has also improved as each week has gone on. We've seen Daryl Cantu-Harkless start the last couple of games. Shakandrick West went over 100 yards a couple of weeks ago, and then all three of the running backs you used last week, Cantu-Harkless, West, and Josh Morgan, scored a rushing touchdown. Will you have Daryl Richardson back tonight, and how much playing time do you expect each of those guys to get?
Well, Daryl will be back tonight. He should have been back last week. He just we decided to hold him out once we saw the way the game was progressing. But you know, I expect Harkless and Richardson to kind of share the load tonight, and we'll work those other guys in hopefully as the game unfolds. But I think, you know, Ken's done a nice job since Reggie got hurt of adjusting our running game a little bit to what those guys can do, and that's going to be the key, is just finding, you know, Kingsville's run defense is really tough. I mean, their pass defense is good, but you can really see them stop the run and force you into those situations to throw. So the running backs, they may not get untracked running the ball, but they got to be good at catching it tonight, you know, and making plays in space, and those guys are pretty good at that. So hopefully they'll have some success there.
Coach Thomsen, anybody who's been out to see an ACU football game knows how well-rounded your team is. What unit are you going to rely on the most to get a win this weekend?
Well, I mean, I don't know if we could just lean heavily on any of the three. I mean, I look at the kicking game and how critical it is for somebody to make a play, make a big play in the kicking game. But our offense has got to function at a high level against a great defense, and then, you know, defensively, I mean, you always start with that. You got to stop people. You got to slow people down, and you know, if our secondary can tighten down a little bit, they've got a great group of receivers, and their quarterback's good. I mean, everybody talks about losing Billy Garza, but Nate does a great job, and he was really efficient against Northwest Missouri. So I don't know that you can just say one area has to really step up. I mean, we've kind of, this team prides itself on being good at all three and really holding up each end and doing the best they can for each other. So to me, it's got to be a combination of all those groups.
Coach, as you think about how good and how storied that Kingsville program is, it's amazing to think that the last 3 trips down there, ACU has come away with victories. You're 5-0 in your career against Texas A&M Kingsville. Can you put your finger on one particular thing that has allowed you to have so much success against the Javelinas?
Well, just, you know, we've had some really good players, and you know, I think anytime you go play against anybody, you better have some talented guys, and I think our coaches have done a great job. I was here as an assistant when Kingsville was, you know, when we couldn't beat them. I mean, we couldn't even stay on the field with them, and one thing that's kind of changed is you got Midwestern and Tarleton now in the conference, you know, and the disparity now, or the parity in the league is bigger. You got those schools really working hard at recruiting, and it's kind of deleted some of those guys that Kingsville used to get, depleted that pool of talent. And Kingsville used to really have a monopoly on the talent in Texas in Division II, and it was hard to break into that. So that's allowed us to slip in and get a few wins. There was a 20-year stretch where we couldn't beat them. Yeah. You know, I think 20 straight years, and now for the last 6 we've won. So we want to keep that that streak alive. And hopefully the streak will continue tonight. Okay, Coach, play well tonight down there in South Texas. A reminder on Abilene Radio, Mix 92.5 FM, kickoff at 7, pregame show at 6:30. And another reminder, come out and join us for the Wildcat Coaches Show at Buffalo Wild Wings every Monday night from 7 to 8. We'll be airing that show on Classic Country 1280 AM, but the live show on the back patio there at Buffalo Wild Wings, great debut last Monday night as we got to watch the Bears and Packers on Monday Night Football. It'll be a great time, some great food specials out there, so we invite you to join us every Monday night for the Wildcat Coaches Show. For Chris Thomsen and for Brandon Tripp, I'm Grant Boone. Thanks for watching the Chris Thomsen Show on K-Texas. See you next week.